Hey guys, it's Sam, and welcome to Caps Lock, a podcast designed to help you live bigger, better, louder, and longer. Before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for listening and for giving this a chance and for coming here in pursuit of your best self. This is a space where we are going to grow together, and I hope that it helps you go forward confidently, unapologetically, and with purpose. It's time to live your life in Caps Lock. If that mission feels aligned for you, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and let's dive in. I feel like my voice is so powerful today.
It is.
It's got resonance, girl. Okay, you guys. Today's guest is a reporter, writer, and editor with a focus on health, wellness, and lifestyle content at brands like Cosmopolitan, where we met, where she was the brand's lifestyle director. During her nearly 5 years at Cosmopolitan, Ashley's work was nominated for a National Magazine Award for Personal Service. She's also held editorial positions at Women's Health Magazine and at Parents. Now, as the deputy editor at Wondermind, that is the Selena Gomez mental health media company, in case anyone was wondering, but I think we all know that. She edits and writes deeply helpful, easy to understand mental health content and develops the brand's editorial strategy. Since 2012, her work has reached millions of eyes across the US and internationally. Please join me in welcoming to the show my dear friend, Ashley Oerman.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Queen. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. Guys, anyone who's listening, a lot of you know that I started my career girl bossing at Cosmo as the assistant to the editor-in-chief. And Ashley and I sat back to back on the floor and just had so much fun together. And now we're like neighbors in the city. Mm-hmm. And she came out with a book that I'll now let you talk about because that is really why we're here today. And we were just chit-chatting about the book. I think it is so insightful and so brave and so smart, and something that I think a lot of our listeners and a lot of people all over the place can really learn from and use it as a tool. So
yes.
Let's talk about your book. First of all, tell everyone the title because it's sick.
And we're cursing on this podcast. Yes.
We're totally cursing on this podcast.
Good. I love a curse word. So I wrote Motherfucked.
So good.
And this is a self-help book for people who have dysfunctional relationships with their moms. Though I will say that, like, after researching, editing, writing, reporting for the last year and a half, like most of the tips and the advice and all of that could be applicable to any primary caregiver. So, if you got a weird relationship with your dad, you might find something helpful here too.
Totally. And part of the reason we're talking today is not just because the book is available for pre-order.
It sure is.
Check the show notes for a link to order it yourself. But also because we're heading into the holiday season. And this is obviously a time when a lot of people are forced to confront uncomfortable, awkward, unpleasant, complicated, and sometimes super terrible and even estranged relationships with family members. And I just thought putting this out the first week of November would give people a little bit of time to kind of absorb and understand and maybe feel seen by your personal experience, but also take some of the tips and tricks and strategies and whatever else and sit with it and maybe even reflect on some of those relationships before going in so they feel prepared for the holidays and maybe just feel like if they feel alone in their home during the holidays, we're there with them. So.
Oh, for sure. And planning ahead is such a helpful tool, really having the time to marinate on how do I normally feel going into the holidays? And, how can I navigate the challenges that always come up year after year? And, how do I want to show up in those holiday moments?
I love that because the truth that we all know is you can really only control yourself. And so how do I want to show up, I think, is a great question to ask yourself. So I imagine what inspired you to write this book is your own complicated, weird relationship with your mom. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of maybe the inciting moment or factor that you were like, I need to talk about this more and maybe I can help people too?
Yeah. So I always sort of knew that my relationship with my mom was kind of different than what I saw with my friends and maybe didn't feel as great as I thought a mom-child relationship should feel. And over the years, that kind of turned into shame. Like in college, we had, I was in a sorority, mom's weekend, and I would see like how my friends' moms were with them. And I was like, man, this is so different than what I'm experiencing. Like,
what were you seeing that you felt like was different than what you were experiencing?
Yeah. So, my friends, their moms, like, were booking hotels for this weekend. They were planning like, oh, we're going to order room service. We're going to go out for brunch. We're going to go shopping. We're going to do all these things. And like, my mom was like, when do you want me to show up? and like, can I sleep in your dorm room? And then, the next morning when we were hungover from being out with our friends, she was like, okay, well, I think I'm going to go.
Got it.
I'm like, well, this feels different than like, maybe what other people are doing. And like the way that I handled that was really similar to the way that I handled it through like most of my childhood and like early adulthood, which is just kind of like white knuckling that relationship. So being like, okay, I am the person in control here. I will book the hotel for us, and I will make the brunch plans, and I will say we're going shopping, and I will make sure that we show up to like the sorority function.
And then suddenly you're the mom. You're doing what all your friends' moms are.
Adult. Yeah, and like on the outside, it's like, oh, Ashley is also like doing all the same things as her friends, but on the inside, it's like, oh my God, I am making this relationship function.
Got it.
And so I would say like that's sort of like the overall theme of how I've been dealing with this relationship up until like relatively recently. So yeah, I developed a lot of shame and like while sort of trying to control what I could control, around the holidays especially, I would like create very specific gift guides for myself. Like, here, Mom, these are all the things.
Here's a link to what I want for Christmas.
A link, size, color.
Yeah.
Which, like, it sounds so, like, petty and a little bit like, okay, you made a gift list for yourself. Like, how tragic. But it's sort of like a tiny piece of a larger theme of just, like, not feeling understood by my mom and not feeling like
she wouldn't know if you didn't tell her.
Exactly. Like, I have to do the work of the relationship.
Yeah. So what was the, like, aha moment where you were like, oh, fuck, this is, like, something I need to talk more about?
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Whoop. Whoop is the only wearable that turns your health and fitness data into personalized guidance. I've been wearing my Whoop for over 2 years now, and I can confidently say that the new model is an amazing upgrade. The new device is 7% smaller than the previous model, and the new battery lasts for 2 full weeks before you need to recharge. But those aren't even my favorite features. First, Whoop now tracks women's cycles with hormonal insights. We talk about our hormones all the time on Caps Lock, and we know how much they affect our health and wellness, not to mention our day-to-day experience of the world. This is huge. Second, the new Whoop includes a feature called Health Span, which tells you your physiological age and how your daily habits impact your pace of aging. Then gives you custom advice for slowing your pace of aging and ultimately lowering your Whoop age. And third, Whoop now offers heart health features, including on-demand blood pressure and ECG readings, so you can check in on your heart anytime and share results with your healthcare provider. This is important for everyone, but especially as my loved ones start to get older, I've gotten them all on the new Whoop because it could literally be a lifesaver. You know how I feel about my health, proactive and preventative. And the new Whoop is my #1 teammate in wellness. Join now at join.whoop.com/Samantha Fair. That's join.whoop.com/Samantha Fair.
So, I kind of went on like that until I was at Cosmo. And, this was like the big leagues for me. I was like, this is my dream job. I love it here. Yeah. Yes, like I must crush this job. And I would go into meetings with like my pitches ready to go, as you do in a magazine pitch meeting. And I would just be like shaking, couldn't couldn't breathe, face turning bright red, couldn't read the notes on my
anxiety.
page. Major social anxiety.
I didn't know
Oh my
this.
God, God bless you.
You seem really put together when I was
probably
there.
just like, everything is fine.
Yeah, totally.
And, I'm great.
No, that's so real.
Yeah, on the inside, I was like, this was like when CBD had just come out, and so I was like spraying the CBD in my mouth.
I actually remember
like,
that.
Yeah, I was like, let's go.
I remember you had that. I was like, can I get a hit of that?
CBD breath spray. Honestly, it worked. I don't know if it was mental or not, but like,
hell yeah,
it worked for me at that moment in time.
Love
and
that.
I needed all the help I could get. Anyway, so like incredible social anxiety. And it wasn't just, trying to impress my boss or, get my pitches accepted. It was like interacting with other team members who I saw as like cool and smart and like, savvy New Yorkers. I remember, someone who I'm now very close with, and I'm sure didn't think anything of this at the time, but she was talking to someone else about a restaurant that they went to over the weekend. And I was like, oh, I don't know what that is. Why does everyone know what this restaurant is? Like, is it me? Am I lame? Like, What is this? And yeah, so just like little interactions like that would kind of just like send me spiraling, feeling like, I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. I'm not cool enough. I need to prove myself. I need to be better. I remember one time someone asked me, like, what did you do this weekend? She was like a higher up person. And I was like, oh, I went out for dim sum. And then I was like, oh, I didn't. I actually went out for ramen. And then just knowing that I was wrong, I just turned bright red, couldn't breathe, and was just like, and this woman was just looking at me like, oh my God, I just asked you, like, what did you do this weekend? Like, what's your deal? Anyway, anyone who has had social anxiety knows like the special kind of hell that is to exist with that. So this, I was like, okay, I know that therapy exists. And so I'm going to go try that. And maybe I can function like a normal person at work and in life. It was affecting my friendships outside of work. It was, had these new-ish New York friends, and I wanted them to like me and accept me.
I want everyone to know that Ashley's from Iowa. Like, so this is not
Midwest
like,
girly.
Yeah. And like, it's funny because when you're talking about like these New York people, like I'm from New Jersey. And I kind of like grew up in New York because I was a ballerina. And so when Ashley's saying New York people, it's because she's like not from here. And I guess like I remember even being from Jersey thinking like, oh my God, the kids who were born and raised in New York are so
coolest
cool.
people
Like
alive.
I'm never going to be that cool. And so like I totally get it. But like being from somewhere completely different and having grown up there and like, where'd you go to school?
I went to the University of Iowa.
Okay, yeah. So like
Fully Iowa.
I went to like kind of a southern school, but it was like a northeastern southern school. I went to Elon, which is like all kids from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. So like the difference of being like from the Midwest, doing your whole life in the Midwest, and then dropping yourself in Manhattan and being like, what's Teresi? Like, I can't imagine how weird that was. So I just want to give that context for anyone who's listening because you're so funny talking about being like nervous around New Yorkers.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I guess New Yorkers are kind of intimidating.
And some of them weren't even from New York.
Right.
It was like the perception of them being cool, like, and having it together, like, it just intimidated the hell out of me.
Yeah. So you go to therapy.
So I go to therapy. And I tell her all of the things I just told you, plus like more. And she keeps like zeroing in on this thing, which is like, why do you care so much if people think you're awkward or if people, don't totally get you? Like, why can't you just be imperfect? And we circled around that for like so many sessions. And I was
you're
like,
not really answering the question.
I'm like, I don't know. Who wants to be weird? Like,
Right.
no one wants to be weird.
You're like, I'm just normal. I just want to be cool like everyone else.
I mean, who wants to be like the Phoebe Buffet of their friend group? You want to be
Everyone wants
like
to be Rachel Green.
Rachel Green.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then eventually I was like, I don't want people to see me the way I see my mom. And my therapist, and then I'm like, oh my God.
You're like, wait a second, this is about my mom.
I was like, wait a second, no. And then my therapist was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like now we're here. We've arrived.
We got here.
Yeah.
It took us a while. And, we dug into that and my relationship with my mom, who I lovingly referred to as Foxy in the book. It's like a cute little nickname that I give her that makes me feel better about like when she's wreaking havoc on my life.
Yeah, yeah.
So we talk about Foxy and basically this like perfectionism that I developed had origins in my relationship with my mom. And at first I was like so resistant to that. I was like, oh my God, I am a stereotype.
Yeah.
I am someone who went to therapy and is now blaming all my problems on my mom,
parents,
which like, of course, there's more to it than that. Like, we all have complex histories. Anyway, but, you know, she told me this is normal. This is like...
That's why it's a stereotype, because so many people experience it.
It's true. Yes, it's true. So my, you know, years and years go by. I'm like working on my relationship with my mom. I'm figuring it out. It's taking forever because I still feel like I'm the only person with this problem. Like, I am like... I felt physically dirty because I had a dysfunctional relationship with my mom, which is the weirdest thing. And when I got to a point where I was like closer to acceptance, I would say, my therapist was like, okay, so like, what do you want to do with this? Like, given that you have a bad relationship with your mom, what do you want to do with it?
Yeah.
And of course, as like a journalist and an editor and a writer, I'm like, I must save the world.
Yeah,
I
have to write about it.
People.
I have to publish it.
Yeah.
You're like, I have to call Penguin Random House.
Yeah, I was like,
who did you call?
I
Who
think I
published
need
it?
to tell my trauma to every single person in the world and make it super public. And also provide service journalism as is my...
It's giving personal service award. It's giving National Magazine Award. Yes.
Yes, it is a very personal service that I'm giving for sure. So that was, I don't know, that was a long time ago. And then, you know, COVID hit and I was like, I think I might like write a book. An astrologer told me, she's like, you're going to write a book. And I was like, okay, cool.
Was it Eliza?
It was Lisa Stardust.
She's also famous.
Iconic.
Wow, that's iconic.
She's like, you're going to write a book. And I was like, what am I going to write a book about?
You're like, no, I'm not.
Oop,
wait.
Found it.
Yes, I am. I totally am.
And it was kind of like I was having a random brainstorm by myself on the couch. And I was like, what if it was called Motherf? That's kind of funny.
That's hilarious, by the way. That's so cool and smart.
Thank you. Yeah. I aim to be very cool and smart.
Totally.
We try super hard. But one of the reasons I named it something so like jarring as that is because like I felt so weird and I don't want other people to feel weird. And if we give it like a silly name, something kind of like, you know, edgy, it doesn't feel as like sappy as something that you might read a self-help book about.
I was just gonna say, it doesn't feel like a griftery like eye roll self-help book. It feels like,
thank you,
you're a cool normal girl telling the truth about something that you lived.
Thank you. Yeah. And I should say that, like, you know, this book is not just like a memoir of like the things that happened. I use myself as an example to like explain a lot of kinds of situations or you know, describe tips or whatever. But this book is really it's based on research and interviews with mental health professionals and, you know, textbooks on grief and it just, journalism hat fully on.
Love. And that is also, by the way, can I just say a big part of why it's you here today, because I could talk to millions of people who have like weird fucking relationships with their families, but I think people who are uniquely motivated to back it up with psychology and like talk to experts and professionals, I think that is the kind of person who we can learn from. There's so much value in a personal experience, and I think the combination of the two things is really what helps people. Like, because you can hear about other people's trauma and relate to it and still not know how to apply that learning to your life. So I guess I want to talk about kind of the tips, strategies, like all the stuff you learn. One of the things I know that you talk about early on in the book is how your primary caregiver relationship influences your development from childhood all the way through to adulthood. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
I sure can.
Yeah, hell yeah.
How much time do you have?
I know. Great question.
There are like a million different ways our parents, primary caregivers, can influence us. I would say the biggest thing is our attachment to them. So I like went hard into attachment theory. And I will say that I learned a lot that was different than what I'm seeing like on TikTok and stuff.
Tell us about that. Because we get part of the reason for this podcast, which I talk about literally in the first episode, is that so many of us get our health information and psychology information from TikTok, and everyone's out there just kind of like making shit up. So what's the truth about attachment theory? I'm assuming it's not just like there's avoidant and there's anxious, and that's how you deal in romantic relationships.
Yeah.
There's probably more than that.
There's so much more. One of the biggest reasons why our moms are so influential in our lives is because of our attachment to them. Our moms or our primary caregivers are our first attachment relationship. And that is for a lot of reasons. The biggest one being you develop an attachment relationship mostly based on proximity to a person.
Okay.
So, because culturally we have laws and standards that, your mom is taking time off when you're born to be with you. It's not as common for a dad to be with you, like especially during that first month.
24/7, right.
Yeah, when that initial attachment phase is developing. So that's kind of how moms can often become like the default attachment relationship.
Well, because up until like 6 months or something, babies actually think their mom is a part of them. Like they think they're
wild?
the same human. Like they don't realize that they're a whole separate thing until they're like more than 6 months old. That's crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And so the other crazy thing about this like stage of life is that within the first month, a baby's mind is more plastic. I think it's called like developmental plasticity. I could be wrong. I might fact check myself on that. But basically, the baby's brain is like absorbing as much information as possible. And it's as plastic as it will ever be outside the womb. So like when the fetus is developing, like the brain is like developing, it's growing, whatever. Then you're born. That first month, you're like still taking in everything.
You're the most moldable that your brain will ever be.
So assuming that your mom is with you like during that first month of life, they have the most influence on you.
Totally.
Like, and they're showing you in that first month and also beyond as your attachment relationship, they're showing you, what you can expect in human relationships, right? It's your first or one of your first human relationships. So that has like a crazy cascade effect for a lot of reasons.
This is partly interesting because when people talk about like childhood trauma, like everything goes back to childhood trauma, I always kind of felt like that was BS because it's like, I mean, this is like coming from a place of total privilege. Like, I think my relationships with my parents, having gone to therapy for a long time, are like pretty healthy. But of course, like I have some anxiety, I have some like things in my adult life. And if like anytime I see something on TikTok or like talk to anyone about it and they're like, oh, well, like every single thing stems from childhood. I'm like, no way. Like I had a great childhood. What are you fucking talking about? Like that's BS. But that's really interesting because it seems to me like there's total grounds for that.
So I'm so glad you brought this up because this allows me to drop a fun fact on you. Yes, your attachment relationship with your caregivers, whether it's secure or insecure, which are two broad like umbrella categories, and there are
like buckets in each of them.
Yes. So, secure is its own thing. If you're secure,
one thing,
great,
you're good,
done,
thumbs up.
But there's lots of ways that you can be insecure.
Tell me about them.
Yeah, it's so fun. So I will tell you about those. But the reason I bring this up is because if you have a secure attachment to your caregivers, yes, you are more likely to have secure attachment relationships in your friendships with, mentors and teachers, like in future romantic relationships. If you have an insecure relationship with your caregiver, yes, there is a correlation between having an insecure relationship with future people you have relationships with. That said, it's not like one and done. It's not set in stone. There is a correlation, but as you, as a science-minded lady, know, correlation is not causation.
Totally.
And it's also a really small correlation.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm surprised by that.
So if you have, not a great relationship with your caregivers, your friends as a child, like they also influence your attachment.
Totally.
Like your teachers, they can also have an impact on you. So like, perhaps your family's awesome, but maybe like you had some weird experiences with friends as a little kid, and that can influence you moving forward.
Oh my God, this totally happened to me.
Yeah.
I will I think I don't know if I've told this story in the pod before, but when I was like an early teenager. So it wasn't like true childhood. I don't think I had like super weird things in childhood. But when I was a young teenager in high school, my friends staged an intervention for me because I posted 3 photos of myself on Instagram from a vacation.
What?
And they said that I was like obsessed with myself and I was like doing too much and trying too hard and that like everyone was talking about it and like they were embarrassed for me. They like took me to Dunkin' Donuts. To
An
like, tell me this.
intervention.
Dead ass. And I actually
You have too much confidence.
Yeah, literally. And so I never had confidence again.
No.
I'm dead ass serious.
That's awful.
But I actually think that like some of those friendships where I felt like really othered because I like had this sense of empowerment from my family who like did a good job making me feel confident and empowered. I think my friends stole that away from me when I was like in middle school and high school. And I always felt like I would wear like crazy outfits sometimes because I was like experimenting with fashion.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding? I was just like a kid doing fun things. And this girl who I remember was a grade younger than me, but had an older sister who was like popular. She was like nice outfit. When I literally will never forget what I was wearing. I was wearing, you remember those like boots from Hot Topic that were like tight on your ankle, but then had a huge platform and a huge chunky heel?
Oh,
They were,
sure.
like,
I would
kinda,
wear
like,
that now.
Yeah, same, Loki. And I'll never forget what I was wearing. Like I couldn't picture the outfit because I threw the boots out the next day. And like it's just really funny you say that because I always hear like, oh, it's all from your parents, it's all from your like young childhood stuff. But like to hear that it's also from other people makes a lot of sense for me because like my earliest boyfriends, my earliest friends, like those relationships I think actually kind of fucked me up.
Yes. And the biggest not biggest, one of many epiphanies that I had is that say you have an insecure attachment to your mom as a little guy. You are more likely to have an insecure relationship with your mom in the future than an insecure relationship with your romantic partners in the future.
Got it. So your early attachment relationship with your primary caregiver is most likely to influence your later stage relationship with your caregiver versus like boyfriends.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And it kind of makes sense because if your, parent kind of sucks and they continue to suck.
They're going to keep sucking. Sure.
Yeah.
Then, and also you then learned from that and you like dealt with the consequences of that for most of your life. And then you're both coming into it with these weird relationships with each other.
Sure.
Okay. So it makes sense to me that like the primary caregiver influences our development kind of throughout our lives. I guess the question is like how the relationships get so fucked up because like, I mean, early stage, in theory, for I think a lot of people, and this isn't the case for everyone, so I'll say like, again, comes from a place of privilege, but your primary caregiver has the best intentions. They're trying to keep you alive and make you feel loved and taken care of and like do all the right things. I guess the question is like, where do they mess up along the way? And like, in what ways? Like, what are the different types of fucked up?
Sure. There are so many types.
So many.
Well, first, I kind of skipped over the part where like the way our parents can set us up for success.
Oh.
So,
okay.
But there
ways they can set us up for unsuccess as well.
Yes, the way they can set you up for success is also the way that they can fuck you over.
Totally.
Whether they mean to or not.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that relationship with your primary caregiver is what teaches you what to expect, in future relationships. So, if your mom, dad, caregiver consistently shows up for you when you're crying, consistently is there for you, you're learning like, oh, I can trust other people. You're learning other people want to support me. I'm important. People value me. It's okay to be myself. Those kinds of things.
Sure.
So, if your caregiver doesn't show up consistently, doesn't make you feel like you can be yourself, that sends you other messages. And like I said, like your friends can, in early childhood and beyond, can sort of steer you straight, in terms of like developing a healthier attachment relationship, like a general attachment style or attachment in future friendships or romantic relationships. But, you might have these ideas of like, oh, I don't really matter. My feelings don't really matter. People won't be there to support me. And that sucks.
Totally. Not only does it suck, but I see how it could lead down the road to like hyper independence, people pleasing, never asking for help, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I would also say that we've talked a lot about like infancy and being a little kid, but we never stop needing our primary caregivers or our moms. There were some studies, and I'm going to look at my notes because I want to make sure I get this right.
Yeah, please do. Because also I can relate. I call my mom 3 times a day every day. And like the other day I said, like she can't die ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I'm 60 and she's like fucking 90 years old, I'm going to be like, yeah,
you're not done
I need
here.
you. You're like, like if I could clone my mom or extend her life by 50 years, I would do anything.
Okay, so there are a few studies. 2 are surveying college kids, and 1 is surveying people ages 16 to 90.
Okay.
And they found that even as people get older, or they partnered up, or they developed super close friendships, most ranked their moms as their second closest attachment figure.
Wow.
And one of the studies found that single people often ranked their moms as number one.
Totally.
So,
that's what I would
it's not a myth that people like stay close with their moms. Your closest attachment relationship does not mean it's your healthiest relationship.
Just means it's like the most influential, impactful.
Yes. I mean, if you've ever been in a relationship with someone who sucks, like you might call them all the time for support.
Totally.
You might rely on them. You might want to be near them all the time, which are, the criteria of an attachment relationship. But if they suck when you are coming to them, they're not, showing you that you're important. They're not, being what attachment researchers call attuned. Listening to what you're saying, responding in a way that reflects that you've been listening and you understand them and that they are important, then that sucks because you're still relying on you're so close to a person who is not they're not fulfilling their end of the bargain in this attachment relationship. Like you're still going to them, you're still calling them when things go wrong and they are just like not being helpful to you. So with your mom, I think like about when I was in college and like my friends are calling their moms all the time. I, of course, was calling my mom all the time, like to catch up or whatever. I made it part of my schedule. Like I call my mom like these days a week. We talk about blah, blah, blah. But like, was I really getting what I needed out of those phone calls? Definitely not.
Right. And I will say also like, that's interesting that you were scheduling it too. And I also wonder if that was part of like an early sign for you that did that ever feel weird? I call my mom 800 times a day without thinking about it. And again, I don't know if that's healthy to be clear, but do you feel like you were not like resistant to calling your mom, but doing it because you felt like you should?
Yes.
Versus like, oh my God, I have to tell my mom this. Or, oh my God, like she's the first thought in my brain, so I want to call her. Because that is for me what it is. So I call her 800 times a day and she's like, okay, Sam, I have a job too. Like I gotta go. But did you feel like you were kind of like, I'm supposed to call my mom 4 times a week?
Yes. And also my mom made me feel like I needed to call her. So
an obligation.
I will say that one of the hardest things for me was that she expected to have the benefits of a close relationship with me without giving me anything in return.
Yeah.
And so like she wanted the frequent phone calls. She wanted to walk me down the aisle with my dad.
But you're like, I don't feel
I was like
that close to you. Yeah.
Maybe Sean, my husband, can walk you down. She was like, oh, great.
Yeah,
that's
fine.
That's fine. I'll take Sean.
So interesting.
Yeah. And I would say, that's sort of the roots of a lot of things is just expecting a lot and giving nothing in return. And that makes it hard because sometimes I think like if she didn't have those expectations, if she was kind of like, oh, we don't talk that much because, we don't have that much in common or, whatever.
Right.
That would almost be easier.
Yeah.
But
totally.
Because she is like was so consistent in my life, it was like reopening a wound over and over and over and over again.
Totally. So let's talk briefly about the different like kinds of fucked up relationships.
Yes.
Because I think for everyone listening, it's like, I don't really know if my relationship is fucked up. It feels a little off, but like what really is fucked up? And also like there are the distant fucked up ones. There are the super close fucked up ones. Like, I think there are a lot of versions.
Yeah. So I will say that, like, it would be impossible for me to cover every single kind of, messed up relationship. That said, I did my best in the book. Yeah. And what I tried to do was sort of categorize similar types of, like, messy relationships into, like, cute little buckets that have cute names.
Love totes.
And so we'll just get through those. So obviously there are things like abuse in all its forms, and those can have massive consequences.
Yeah.
And, I cover that in the book, how to sort of spot the signs that this might have happened to you. Like, if it's not illegal, could it be abusive? I talk about that in the book, which I found super helpful. But then there are, behaviors like what I call controlling and trolling behaviors.
Love.
Controlling. And this is where caregivers basically prioritize their expectations for you as their kid above your freedom to be who you are.
Oh, interesting.
And that can happen in a lot of ways. They try to manipulate you into doing or being something else. If it happened to you, you might have a hard time sort of with critical thinking or having trouble building healthy friendships. You might feel unsure of yourself or hyperfixate on like parts of your body that you want to change. You might struggle with social anxiety. Interesting. And then there's this other category of behavior that I call you do youing. And it's basically when your caregiver leaves you hanging or kind of abandons their parenting responsibilities. So maybe they left you alone for long periods of time, or, you came to them with a problem and they just ghosted you and didn't come through for you. It could also be, emotional neglect. That's, disregarding your emotional needs. My mom likes to say, it's your life. It's your life.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, that could be something as simple as me being like, oh, I actually don't like this.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to do that. And she's like, it's your life.
Whatever. Yeah.
Scoff. It's your life.
That's
Or like, I pick out a t-shirt at TJ Maxx. What do you think of this? It's your life.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. It's like a big fuck you, which, whether she meant it that way or not, that's how I took it.
Totally.
So, yeah. And then, there's like dumping when your mom puts too much of an emotional burden on you, telling you things that are definitely like not your business. They're treating you like a therapist or a partner, making you be the adult in the relationship. Not fun.
Yeah. It sounds like actually a couple of these are sort of parentifying too, which I think there's like a lot of in the inner child kind of stuff.
Oh, for sure. Rory Gilmore, Matilda are good examples of like
parentified kids. Totally.
So if that happened to you, you might avoid closeness because you're worried people will want too much from you. You might automatically become like the mom of your friend group because you're like, this is my role. This is what people expect from me.
Yeah.
You might have a hard time saying no or people pleasing. You might feel like you have to have all the answers all the time.
Interesting.
And enmeshment is another good one to call out. I mean, you mentioned like calling your mom 800 times a day.
Yeah.
So I am not a therapist. I cannot diagnose enmeshment.
Sure.
I cannot. But I will give you the definition. So sometimes it can feel like you're super close, and maybe you are, but enmeshment is a condition in which two or more people, typically family members, are involved in each other's activities and personal relationships to an excessive degree, thus limiting or precluding healthy interaction and compromising individual autonomy and identity. And that's according to the APA. Yeah.
That's real.
That's real.
Oh, so serious.
I think, when is it enmeshment? When is it being super tight? I think it's like if you feel like you don't have the freedom to be yourself, you don't have the freedom to make your own choices, you feel like your mom or whoever's emotions become your emotions. If they're having a tough week, it like ruins your week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. Like, I don't think there's enmeshment because we have so much autonomy and like we're so independent and like can live our lives separately. But I do have a bad week if my mom's having a bad week. But I don't know if it's because I love her or if it's because I don't know.
Yeah.
I never know. But,
I don't know either. But you go to therapy and
I know.
You're in good hands. Yeah. You're doing great.
Yeah, I feel safe. But I also am like, Mom, I hope you're having a good week. But I know if she's having a bad week because we talk 8 times a day. So I think something that we see a lot on places like TikTok, for example, is those videos where it's like, sometimes I'm annoyed with my mom and then I realize she's just a girl living for the first time too. And that is something I wanted to raise with you because there is kind of a space to be like, well, your mom's doing her best. Like she's just doing what she learned and trying to make it better for you. And so sometimes the pendulum swings the other way or like whatever it is. And I think there's a place to have empathy for your mom, like in whatever circumstances she has. But when are we, like, where's the line between like I have empathy for her and I'm excusing the way she is hurting me?
Yeah. So this feels like a good time for me to say that this book is not a takedown of moms. Like, I'm not here to destroy momkind. Like, I would like to be a mom one day. And that said, moms are people. And people are messed up for so many reasons that we didn't get into, but I give you like a bajillion in the book that you could say, yes, tracks.
Yeah, sure.
So while working on this book, I had a really great conversation with Mina B, who's an incredible therapist. I love working with her. And one interesting thing that she said was, you do not owe your mom empathy, but if you decide to give that to her, that empathy is more for you than for her.
I have a question that maybe you share an opinion on.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like you owe empathy to like humans?
Oof, that's like, so deep.
Because for me, I guess it would be like, okay, then do I owe empathy to like the homeless man on the train? Do I owe empathy to my partner? Do I owe empathy to my friends? And to me, maybe I'm an empath, right? Like, because I cry at everything and I'm like looking at the old man at the restaurant who's eating by himself. I'm like, I hope his wife is alive and he's busy. But like, would it be like I owe empathy to everyone except my mom? Or is it I owe empathy to everyone? And so why?
This is so philosophical.
I know.
I think a therapist would say you don't owe anyone empathy, but like it is a good trait to be empathetic.
Want to give it.
Yes.
Sure.
And in this specific case with your mom, say you have, a shitty relationship with your mom, they treated you like garbage, and you're like, do I need to feel for them and whatever made, this hurt person hurt me?
Sure.
And you don't have to.
Right.
But if you do, that empathy can free you from the burden you would place on yourself. You can say like, I think, my mom had a weird childhood. I think growing up, my mom was really strapped for cash, and like that had to be really hard for her. And that probably made it hard for her to raise me. Any reason, you can have so much empathy for that. But the benefit of that is not to just like feel sorry for your mom. It's to say, and it's not my fault that she raised me the way she did. Right. It's not on me. It's on them.
Which is huge.
Yes. And so you need to have empathy for yourself.
And then how do you separate, if you do choose to give your mom empathy, where's the line between like, I feel for that and I'm just giving her a free pass to keep doing it again?
I think if you use the empathy as an excuse, that is not great.
Yeah.
If you're saying like, you treated me like garbage because you were going through a hard time in your life, and that's fine, and I'm going to continue to let you treat me like garbage, not great. But if you use it as a tool to free yourself, that's the best thing you can do.
And so then I imagine that kind of the thing that draws the line between an empathy and an excuse is setting boundaries and like creating something within yourself to use as a tool to not let it continue to cross the line. And so since I think it's not our responsibility to change these people.
Definitely not.
And a lot of times you can't change these people because their frontal lobes are developed. Like that part's over. The question is like, what can you do within yourself? Whether it's changing your perspective or setting different expectations or setting boundaries. What are the things we can do ourselves to navigate the relationship so that we don't allow it to keep crossing the line of empathy to excuse?
Yes, there's so much, and I wish I could like just read you chapters 5 through 10.
Right.
But I will say the thing that helped me was getting to a place of acceptance. And getting to a place of acceptance isn't just saying, I accept you and I accept this behavior. It starts with acknowledging that there's a problem. You have to say like, my mom treats me like trash and that makes me feel bad. And that's an acknowledgement. That's not actual acceptance. Then you get to the processing the emotions that come with my mom treats me like trash. And that comes through the grieving process. And in the book, I give you very specific instructions on how to grieve because there is some research behind like the most effective way to do that.
And what is like, I mean, top line, what is the best way to, because your mom is still alive, right?
She is alive.
Totally alive.
She's alive and well.
So how exactly do you grieve that relationship knowing that she's alive, she's there, you're going to probably see her, maybe see her again, I don't know, depending on your contact situation, but like, How do
Yes.
you do that?
So top line is like really spending time on your own, going between grief mode, which is sort of like spending time with your feelings, maybe journaling, maybe crying in the bathtub, crying in the shower, whatever, and then going back to your normal life until you sort of integrate the truth of my mom treats me like garbage. And once you've integrated that into just like your reality, like you can just say, I have a bad relationship with my mom. That's when you've sort of reached a place of acceptance.
Okay.
And like you said, if this person is not dead, then, you know, you're going to run into them. You're going to run into people who know them. You have relatives at the holidays who are going to be like,
them or to
have
them.
you called your mom lately?
Sure.
And so that is hard. And that is where like boundaries come in. So that sort of protects your grieving process as you work your way to acceptance.
Mhm.
And so setting boundaries is so hard. But I think if you suck at setting boundaries, a good way to get started is to try setting a boundary with someone you trust and love. And, you know, if your friend calls you to get coffee and you really don't want to put pants on, say no.
No, and maybe say, I don't want to put pants on. Like, say the real reason.
Say the
Don't
real
say,
reason.
I'm busy.
Don't say, oh, I'm sick.
I can't. I'm sick.
Yeah.
Right. Say, like, I don't want to.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And there you go. And you can kind of build up to, you know, the
Practice.
scarier
Yeah.
boundary setting, telling your uncle, like, no, I haven't called my mom and like, we don't really talk.
I don't intend to.
And I don't want to.
Yeah.
So that is like the best way to get started. And then as you're setting boundaries, say you're building them up and you set one with your mom or your uncle or whoever, the best thing you can do, especially during this time of year, is see how they respond to your boundary. That's going to give you so many little data points that when you are deciding, okay, my relationship with my mom sucks, what do I want to do next? You have that information to be like, oh, every time I say, you know, set a boundary, like, I don't want to talk about my dating life or, you know, don't talk about my body, and they do it anyway.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
That's
So
not
what do I
enough.
want to do?
Right.
What
What's
do I
an
want-
alternative strategy? Like,
Yes.
setting boundaries is not working.
Mhm.
What's different?
Yes.
That
or
works.
maybe you set a different boundary. Maybe it's a stronger boundary. Maybe you don't go to Thanksgiving.
Right.
Um,
There are consequences for every action.
Yes. And so really sticking to those consequences and then also paying attention to how people react to your boundaries is going to help you feel more secure when you set future boundaries. Because
Yeah.
you can be like, aha.
Well, it's predictable. And then you're like, I know what might happen and I can prepare for that.
Yes. And so as you're thinking ahead to Thanksgiving, maybe you've already done this sort of like boundary setting, experimenting, whatever. Think about, you know, what happened the last time you set that boundary, and is it going to be effective this time? And if not, what do you want to do this year? You can
Yeah.
totally make changes right now. And the hardest part is sticking with them.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. To the point of every action has a consequence, and sticking to upholding those consequences if your complicated relationship person, right, continues to violate your boundaries. At what point do you think like the low or no contact, like how do you decide actually? Let's go backwards. How do you decide if your relationship qualifies for like this should be a low or no contact relationship?
Oh, I wish I could give
I
you
know.
a criteria.
There's no
That would be so
generalization that makes
amazing.
sense for everyone. right?
Yes. So it really comes down to what are you willing to put up with?
Sure.
Yeah. Like, what are you willing to, if you set boundaries and your mom keeps plowing right through them, are you willing to like put up with that for the foreseeable future?
Right. What's your trade off? What's
Yeah.
the ROI? Like, do
Yeah.
you just feel like shit all the time?
Mhm.
Or like, and I think too, it comes down to like, what are your top values? Like, are you a forgiveness and try again person? Or are you a protect my peace person? There are a lot of
Even
different kinds
a
of people.
forgiveness person, it might be better for them to
Yeah.
to go low or no contact just because you have to protect yourself. And so I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me in my conversations about estrangement with mental health professionals was, you know, how much is it impacting your life outside of this relationship? Are you like ruminating about your mom all the time? Yes, I was.
right.
Like, can you like not get through watching Mamma Mia without sobbing because you
'Cause of the
feel like,
mother-daughter
oh my God,
relationship.
why don't I have an amazing relationship with my
Totally.
mom? So it's really just about like, how much is it affecting your life? And like, do you want to put up with that? Because you don't have to.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for me. It took me probably 6 years to get to the point where I was like, oh, calling my mom every week, every other week, once a month. is making me feel really bad.
Yeah.
Like I would hang up the phone and I would burst into tears.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Right. And like, why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? We don't have to. And so I do have a little quiz in the book that can help you sort of sort through the pros and cons of going low or no contact. Also, it doesn't have to be forever. Like if something changes, if your mom is like, aha, I'm going to therapy and I'm going to figure out my shit, amazing, you can revisit. Maybe you just develop the skills that you need to be engaged with them that keep you protected in those interactions, or you can deal with the consequences later. Both could happen, and maybe, you just decide that the pros are outweigh the cons.
Yeah.
Or reverse.
Yeah.
So yeah, how much are you willing to put up with?
Is kind of the bottom line question.
Yeah.
And I don't know for sure that it's the same in every relationship, but I think societally there's like this kind of expectation that you have mentioned a little bit, that you like feel like you need to have a certain relationship with your mom, or it needs to look a certain way, or like people prize this mother-daughter relationship because of like this expectation that you're close with your mom and you're best friends with your mom and whatever. When you decide, or I guess it would be either when you accept that you have a sort of estranged, weird relationship with your mom, or if you decide to go low or no contact, is there like a feeling of guilt or like I feel like there must be one that's like projected onto you, not even like something that you should necessarily feel, but something that like it just feels like I feel bad for like cutting off my mom or whatever, even if you know that that's the right thing for your relationship.
Yeah.
Like, what is
and
it
you're
like
touching on two things. And the first thing I will say, since we just talked about estrangement, is that, and boundaries, is you will probably feel guilty for setting a boundary.
Yeah.
And that's because in a lot of relationships, especially with our caregivers, we're taught that we need to cater to the emotions of our caregiver, right? Because as little kids, we make their behavior about us. And so we want to make them happy when they're happy and healthy or whatever. We're happy, healthy, whatever. So when you go against that, it feels bad, even if you're doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So really sitting with that, like, guilt will happen probably. And also that doesn't mean you're actually doing something wrong, can help like ease the guilt, but it's real. It happens. And then the other thing you mentioned was sort of like the shame and stigma, because we have this idea of like who moms are supposed to be. And if our mom doesn't treat us like, a king baby, even as an adult, like what does that say about us? This, society tells us that this person is supposed to be, the beacon of like care and love for us.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't happen, it makes us feel shitty. It makes us feel like we're doing something wrong. It makes us feel different than everyone around us, like my college days. And also, that study that found that most people surveyed had their mom as their first or second closest attachment relationship. It's not just like society. It's like happening.
Yeah, it's true. It's factual.
Yeah, it's like it's happening. And again, that doesn't mean it's the healthiest relationship, but it does feel like almost inescapable that this is like what we're supposed to have.
Yeah.
And so how do you deal with that? I think talking about it. That's why I wrote Motherfucked. Like, let's fucking talk about it. Like, not everyone has a great relationship with their mom, and it's okay. It doesn't mean you're dirty. It doesn't mean you're defective. And it's probably not your fault. I would also say, like, maybe definitely not your fault. Like, I don't know your life.
Right.
It could be your fault.
Almost 100% not your fault.
Almost 100% not your fault.
Right.
So I think just like sharing your story, when I started going to support groups for this, it was like an unlock. I was listening to people talk about their moms and I was like, oh, is their mom also Foxy?
Totally.
Do we have the same mom?
Totally.
And so you can find those support groups online. One of my favorites is Calling Home. That's Whitney Goodman's amazing platform. She's a therapist and she runs those. But yeah, just talk about it. And it's so freeing. It's so freeing.
This is why we have the podcast. It's why like I put stuff on social media. It's like ultimately, I think probably in my experience at least, like the best healing comes from community and shared experience. And so that's kind of part of why I was like, come here, because there might be people listening to this right now who have never considered that their relationship with their mom is unhealthy, but they're like, oh, wait, I have felt that way before, or I have booked our hotel for mom's weekend because my mom couldn't be bothered, or like whatever else. And it could uncover something for you that you've either been denying or didn't realize. It could, make you feel seen about something that you were afraid to talk about. Like it could be the, inciting factor that compels you to visit a support group or talk to someone else about it.
Therapy is good.
Therapy is great. Therapy is great. And I actually think maybe for this type of thing, like maybe after doing one-on-one talk therapy, like group therapy actually sounds like it really was really big for you, because you realize you're not the only fucking person having this horrible traumatic experience, which is totally fair. So my last question for you before I let you go, because we have jobs, is I'm like, this one actually is my job, but you have another job too, is what it feels like to be on the other side of all of this work that you did. And I think something that maybe comes up for people that makes them just put up with it over and over is like, it feels so intimidating to do all this, to work through all this, to go to therapy, to whatever else. Like if you could go back, would you do it all again? And would you say you should do it even if it's hard because it's worth it?
Yes, I would. I think on the other side, my biggest takeaways are that like I'm not alone. And if I could change anything, I think I would have started talking about this with other people, or sought out support groups or something, just to not feel so ashamed, because that is such a block to actually doing what you need to do. Like if I saw examples of other people who I related to, like taking care of the situation, getting help, or just, talking about their moms, I would be like, oh, it's not just me. I can do something about it. It's okay for me to set a boundary. This problem is bigger than me, and I can do something about it. So, I hope my story is not reflective of every story out there of people who have messed up relationships with their moms. I know that. But I will say, if my story resonates with you at all, like, just know you're not alone. Like, I have been there. It sucks. And it takes a long time to heal. And I hope that you, pre-order my book and, learn all the things that I've learned. But if you just take one thing away, if you don't pre-order, if you're just listening to this, you are not alone. Yeah. And it can get better if you take the steps to get there. You just have to face it and go for it. And I think like try the scary, hard thing and see how it goes and collect your data points. Yeah. And like, maybe the worst thing you can imagine happens, but you're still here and you figured it out. Maybe it doesn't go as badly as you think, and you're fine, and you can move forward knowing that you have the strength to do hard things and like put yourself first and believe yourself. That's the other thing. Believe yourself. That was so hard for me.
Yeah, don't like deny the experiences you had, and like trust that your feelings come from something that happened to you. Like you didn't make it up in your head. Stop gaslighting yourself. Yeah, I think too, something that has really helped me, because I think, by the way, like this advice, I think actually can be applied to almost anything in your life. Like try the scary hard thing. Every single person you ask, like, what's their biggest regret about anything in their life, whether it's like trying the career of their dreams, moving to a different country, like trying to fix their relationship with their mom, or trying to, maybe dissolve the relationship with their, right, whatever it is. Every single person you ask what their biggest regret is invariably says, my biggest regret is I didn't try it sooner, about everything. And oh my God, I could like get emotional. And that's mine too. Like every single thing that I have in my life, I wish I started doing it sooner. And I think like if you're listening to this, any of it resonates, anything, whether it's your mom, your dad, like someone else in your life, even if it's like a friend or a romantic partner, like I think the only way you ever know is if you try it yourself. It will never be like, oh, like I heard about this. It doesn't feel right for me. You don't know unless you try. And it sounds like it was worth it. And I'm so glad that you feel good about where you are now. And I think anyone listening who can relate to this probably just felt so seen. So go to the show notes, pre-order Ashley's book. I already read a lot of it. I'm going to keep reading it. I feel so special and fancy when I get to read a book before it's in the world.
You are special and fancy.
Thank you very much. But it really is great. And I will say something I loved about it is that it was personal experience, but it's also research, evidence, mental health professionals, data, studies. Like, it's not just, oh, this happened to me and so you should learn from it. It's this happened to me and like 18 million other people. And here's what the data says. And also here's my personal experience, which I think is really compelling because it's like, it's not, like you said, your story won't be everyone's story. But 18,000 people in this study had a pretty compelling joint shared experience and results. And like, that's our whole thing here on the pod is like, we talk about our personal experiences, but all of it is backed up with something. And so I think that is where we can take value from like shared experience and science and information and psychology, and feel like, again, like you're not gaslighting yourself. That's real. It's happening in the world and it's not just you. So Ashley, thanks for being here.
Sam,
thanks for being vulnerable.
Having me. Thank you for letting me air my dirty laundry.
Oh, duh. We love that here. We love to spill the tea. And also, like, thanks for being vulnerable because I think it's really brave and it can be really hard. Like, it was probably kind of scary and felt kind of weird to publish this book with your mom, like, out here who's like, maybe I'll read this.
Yeah. No, she's fully alive.
Yeah.
And she has seen the book. So, like, I sleep better at night knowing that this isn't going to ambush her.
Yeah.
And, you know, the first thing she said to me when she read it was she was impressed with the research. So,
okay.
So, Foxy's impressed. Stamp of approval.
It wasn't like, sorry.
It wasn't. But you know what? We take what we can get.
We're impressed, though. I'm impressed. And thanks for being here.
Of course.
I think this is great.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys. Talk soon.